They thought it was just about money, just shopping, just cheap phones and factory shoes. But behind the smiles, behind the sales, was something bigger. A silent battle was happening, not with guns, not with fear, but with trust and influence. And China, it wasn't shouting. It was whispering, smiling, winning. This was the battle of influence. Chapter 1. A Strange Invitation. In the spring of 2025, something strange happened. People across the United States got a message on their phones. Not from a friend, not from a store, from the Chinese embassy. The message was short, but powerful. Come to China. Get a special shopping visa. No work needed, no interviews, just land and shop. At first, people laughed. A shopping visa? What is that? Some thought it was fake. Others thought it was a trap. But the message was real. And it didn't stop there. Videos started to appear online. American influencers walking through malls in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. They smiled. They held up luxury bags. And they all said the same thing. Everything is cheaper here. Same brands, same products, but without the U.S. price tag. People were shocked. A woman named Jenna from Texas said, "I bought the same perfume here for $60. Back home, it's $180. This is crazy." Was it just a marketing trick, or was China trying something deeper? Some experts had an idea. They said this wasn't just about shopping. It was about war. But not the kind with tanks or missiles. This was an economic war. Let's go back a little. For many years, the U.S. government accused China of unfair trade. And China? It said the U.S. was trying to control the global market. Tariffs went up. Talks failed. Both countries wanted to win, but both were losing money. Then, someone in China had a new idea. "Why fight the government," they said, "when we can win over the people?" And so, the shopping visa was born. A simple plan, but very smart. Here's how it worked. China opened special tourist visas for Americans. Fast approval. No long forms. People could stay up to 30 days. They could visit malls, factories, and shopping districts. Not only that, they got discounts, gift cards, and even free transport. In a way, it was a shopping holiday. People came. And they talked. They posted on TikTok. They compared prices. And suddenly, millions of Americans saw something they didn't expect. Why are U.S. brands so expensive at home? Why is this t-shirt $25 in China, but $75 in New York? The questions grew, and so did the anger. Some blamed U.S. companies. Some blamed taxes. Some even blamed the media. Meanwhile, China smiled. It didn't fire a bullet, but it caused confusion and curiosity. In one video, a man named Curtis, a truck driver from Ohio, stood in a giant store in Guangzhou. He looked at the camera and said, They told me China was the enemy. But the people here, they're kind. The food's great. The prices are fair. I don't see a war. I see deals. That video went viral. It reached 40 million views in 3 days. And guess what? 3 senators in the U.S. government started asking questions. Is China using shopping to change public opinion? Are we losing control of our own economy? It was no longer just a joke. It was serious. The shopping visa started a wave. Airlines added new flights. Travel companies launched Shop in China tours. Young people, students, retired couples, they all packed their bags. And every day, more Americans arrived in Chinese malls. Phones in hand, eyes wide. Was this the future of war? No guns, no bombs, just discounts and shopping carts. One Chinese official said on TV, smiling, "You cannot stop people from shopping, but maybe, just maybe, you can make them think differently." Back in the U.S., a teacher named Sam wrote a blog post. He said, "My students learned more about China from a shopping trip than from 5 years of news. If this is war, it's the softest war I've ever seen." But under the soft smile was a clever strategy, a new kind of weapon. Not steel or fire, but sales and style. This was just the beginning, and that's where it all began. A strange invitation. A shopping visa? From China? Was it a joke or a clever move? What would you do if you got that message? Would you go? Would you believe it? Tell us in the comments, and share this story with a friend. Because what happens next is even more surprising. Chapter 2. Why China Did It. So, why did China do it? Why open the doors? Why invite Americans to shop? The answer is strategy. Not warplanes, not tanks, just smart, silent strategy. Let's go back to the problem. In the early 2020s, the U.S. and China were in a trade war. Not a real war with soldiers, but a fight with numbers, taxes, and goods. The U.S. raised tariffs on Chinese products. Tariffs are like taxes added to imports. So, Chinese phones, clothes, and electronics became more expensive in the U.S. And China? China answered back. It made American goods more expensive in China, like Apple phones, Ford cars, Coca-Cola. The fight was on. Both countries wanted to win, but both were hurting. Businesses suffered, workers lost jobs, prices went up. And the people? They paid the price. But China had a different plan. Behind closed doors in Beijing, leaders met around a big table. One of them said, "We can't win with taxes. Let's win with people." The others listened. He explained, "If we bring Americans here, let them see the truth with their own eyes. Let them buy what they love. They will ask questions back home." And they did. The shopping visa was not just about tourism. It was a tool, a smart weapon. Here's how it worked. In the U.S., people believed that Chinese products were low quality, that China only copied, that it was the enemy. But once Americans came to China, they saw something different. New cities, fast trains, clean malls, cheap prices, and the truth hit them hard. Wait, this handbag is made in China, but in New York, it costs 3 times more. Who's making the money? Not China. Not the factory workers, but the brands, Western brands. This discovery was big. Americans started talking, not about politics, but about prices. Social media exploded. Why are we paying more in the U.S.? Is this fair? Are we the fools in this game? These questions were dangerous for the American government and for the big brands. China didn't say a word. It didn't need to. The shoppers were doing the talking. In Beijing, a government advisor smiled. He whispered, "We didn't attack. We didn't lie. We just opened the window." This was the power of soft war. No threats, no force, just ideas and emotion. One family from Florida came back from Shanghai. They had 4 suitcases full of goods, shoes, makeup, electronics. The father, Mike, told a local news station, "Look, I don't care about politics. I just saved $2,000 on stuff I was going to buy anyway." China welcomed us. They didn't fight us. They sold to us. And I liked it. Meanwhile, American companies were worried. They were losing trust, losing control. One CEO of a fashion brand said privately, "This shopping visa is a nightmare. It shows how big our profit margins are. People are angry." China had done it without yelling, without threats. They had used shopping as a mirror. This was a new battlefield, a quiet one. No fire, no soldiers, but minds were changing and hearts were softening. All because of one question. Why does the same shirt cost $20 in China and $70 in the U.S.? In schools, students started projects. Let's compare prices. Let's look at supply chains. Let's study trade, not just headlines. And in homes, families whispered, "Maybe China isn't what we thought." This was the goal. Not to destroy, but to confuse, to make people look again, to ask, to doubt. And that, my friend, is a powerful kind of war. Next time, we go deeper into the brand trap, where China didn't just invite shoppers. It exposed the secrets behind the logos, and that made the war even more personal. Chapter 3. The Shopping War. It started slowly. Then it exploded. At first, only a few Americans accepted the visa. A few curious tourists, some YouTubers. But what they found in China shocked them. Factory tours, massive shopping centers, and prices that made them stop and whisper, "Is this real?" Yes, it was real. Let's take Sarah. She's 26, lives in California, loves fashion. Back home, she saved for months to buy one luxury bag, $900. She called it her dream purse. But in Guangzhou, she saw the same bag, same brand, same box, for $240. She gasped, filmed it, posted it. Her video went viral. Then came others. Tech lovers, students, moms, even retirees. One by one, they flew to China. They shopped. They shared. And soon, millions of Americans knew the truth. The price we pay is not the real price. We've been tricked. This was no longer a trip. It was a movement. China welcomed them, smiled, offered them more. Would you like to visit the factory? Would you like to meet the workers? Would you like to see how your $300 sneakers are made for $12? People said yes. They walked through rows of machines, met tired workers, touched the materials, and they asked, "Why is the final price so high?" The answer was clear. Marketing, packaging, brand power. In the U.S., the reaction was strong. Big brands were afraid, very afraid. They watched customers cancel orders, write angry comments, and fly to China to shop instead. Executives held emergency meetings. One CEO shouted in the room, "This is dangerous. People are losing trust, and it's China who's winning." They weren't wrong. Because China wasn't just selling products. China was selling truth. A family from Detroit shared their story online. They bought clothes, toys, tools for a third of the U.S. price. The dad said, "I used to believe made in China meant cheap and bad, but I was wrong. It means affordable. It means we've been lied to." That video hit 15 million views, and more people started asking questions. Who controls the prices? Why is there such a big gap? Where does our money really go? Meanwhile, back in Washington, some lawmakers were furious. They accused China of playing mind games, of trying to weaken American companies, of using shopping as a weapon. One senator said on TV, "This is economic manipulation. China is turning our citizens into walking billboards." But it was too late. The people were already on China's side, not politically, but financially, emotionally. Back in China, a quiet official wrote a report. He called it "Victory in the Mall." In it, he wrote, "We didn't need to fight. We only needed to invite. The truth is our weapon. The shopper is our messenger." Even small Chinese factories began joining the wave. They opened doors, put signs in English, offered direct sales. No middlemen, no brand taxes, just real value. And Americans loved it. They smiled. They bargained. They left with full suitcases and full minds. By now, the shopping visa war had reached every U.S. state, from farmers in Kansas to barbers in New Jersey. Everyone was talking. China doesn't hate us. They just know how to do business. It was no longer just shopping. It was a war of ideas, a quiet revolution, one discount at a time. And the brands? They began to sweat. Some dropped prices. Some rebranded. Some even moved production back to the U.S. But it was too late. The people had seen behind the curtain. They had touched the truth. And once you do that, you don't forget. Chapter 4. The No Logo Revolution. It started with a whisper, then became a wave. Inside Chinese factories, something new was happening. A quiet change, but a strong one. Some factory owners asked a big question. Why do we put other people's logos on our work? They looked at the shoes they made, the phones, the clothes, all made by them. But the names on the products? Foreign names, American names, French names, not Chinese. Then came the bold move. One shoe factory owner said, "No more logos, no more lies. We will sell our own products, the same shoes, same quality, but no brand name." His workers were shocked. His partners said, "You're crazy." But he did it anyway. He opened a small online store. He called it Real Made. The prices? 1/3 of the brand name price. No fancy box, no fake story. Just the truth. And people noticed, especially the American visitors. One woman, Lisa from Chicago, held a pair of real-made shoes. She smiled and said, "They look just like mine at home, but mine cost $180. These? $40. And honestly, they feel better." She bought 4 pairs, told her friends, posted it on TikTok. The views exploded. More factories joined. No logo, no marketing, no lies. Just honest products, sold direct, to people who wanted the truth. And the movement got a name. The No Logo Revolution. Soon, it wasn't just shoes. It was jackets, backpacks, watches, headphones, even laptops. One phone factory near Shenzhen made a shocking announcement. "We build for a U.S. tech giant, but we also make our own. No logo, half the price." And people lined up to buy. Back in the U.S., brand managers were panicking. They knew the truth. They had hidden it for years. A jacket that costs $20 to make, sold for $200 in stores. A phone that costs $100 in parts, sold for $900 with the logo. That game was over. The no logo wave was growing, fast. In factories, workers felt proud. One worker said, "Before, I made things I couldn't afford. Now, I make things my family can buy, with no shame." Another smiled. "It's still the same product, but now it's ours." Even some Chinese influencers joined the cause. They posted side-by-side tests, brand versus no logo. And often, The no-logo product won. Better stitching, longer battery, stronger fabric. People were shocked. One comment said, "I paid $600 for this, and the $90 no-logo version is better?" The truth was out, and it spread like wildfire. No logo became cool. It became a symbol of honesty, of rebellion, of freedom. Young Americans wore plain sneakers proudly. These are no logo. I support real makers. They didn't care about shiny names. They cared about truth. Brands tried to fight back. They launched eco-lines. They lowered prices. They made tearful ads. But people saw through it. "Too late," they said. "We've woken up." In China, small factories began to grow, not with branding, but with trust. They didn't need logos. They had something better, a connection, a story, a fair price. One factory boss stood in front of his workers. He held up a plain white t-shirt, and he said, "This shirt will not lie. It will not pretend. It will not make promises, but it will last, and people will love it because it is real." The workers clapped. Some cried. They felt something new, something powerful. Respect. This was not just a market change. It was a mind change, a quiet revolution, with no logo, but a loud message, and so the war continued. But now, it wasn't just about prices. It was about values. Truth versus tricks. Honesty versus hype. And as the world watched, the no-logo revolution marched forward. Chapter 5. America Reacts. The news reached Washington. Fast. Videos of Americans shopping in China. Posts about cheap prices. Stories of factory tours and no-logo shoes. People were talking, and the government was listening. In a high-security meeting room, U.S. officials sat around a long table. Faces tight, voices low. On the big screen, a video played. A young woman holding up a pair of Chinese sneakers. She smiled and said, "These cost me $35 here. At home, they cost $120. Why are we paying more?" Then came another clip. A father of 3 from Arizona. "I came here to save money, but I also learned the truth. China's not the enemy. The real enemy is overpriced lies." The room went silent. Then someone said, "This isn't tourism anymore. This is soft warfare." The term spread like fire. Soft warfare. A war without guns, without soldiers, just smiles and sails. The U.S. was under attack, not by missiles, but by discounts, factory tours, and truth. Lawmakers stood up in Congress. One senator shouted, "China is stealing our customers. They are breaking our economy with shopping bags." Some laughed. Some looked worried. But no one ignored it. Back in the streets, the people didn't stop. More Americans were flying to China, not for politics, not for protest, but to shop, to see, to learn. At the airport, reporters spoke to travelers. "Why are you going to China?" One man answered, "Simple. I get more for my money, and I get the truth." Another said, "I used to fear China. Now, I just buy from them." The U.S. media jumped in. Some called it dangerous. Others called it smart. Headlines shouted, "China's secret weapon, your wallet." Shopping versus sanctions, who's winning? America's youth is falling in love with Made in China. Inside the White House, the president asked his advisors, "Can we stop this?" The answer was not easy. They tried raising tariffs again. But that only hurt U.S. shoppers more. They tried warning people, but no one listened. One advisor sighed. "Sir, they're not listening to us. They're listening to TikTok." Big American brands were also in trouble. Sales dropped, stock prices fell, customers wanted answers. A famous sports brand held a press event. The CEO looked nervous. He said, "We believe in quality. We believe in trust. Please don't compare us to factory prices." But people did compare, and they didn't forget. Meanwhile, China stayed quiet. No speeches, no press conferences, just more flights, more welcome signs, more shopping diplomacy. One Chinese official told a reporter, "We didn't start a war. We started a conversation." And that conversation was changing everything. Back in the U.S., things got tense. Some politicians demanded new laws. Some wanted to ban the visa. Some even talked about blocking travel to China. But the people pushed back. "You can't stop us from shopping. You can't hide the truth forever. This is our money, our choice." A protest happened in New York. But it wasn't against China. It was against brands. Young people held signs, "Don't sell us lies." "No more logo traps. We shop smart now." A new kind of patriotism was rising. Not about flags, but about fairness. The government had a problem, a big one. They couldn't fight this war. Not with weapons, not with fear. Because it wasn't fear China was selling, it was freedom. And so the U.S. began to rethink, not how to stop China, but how to win back their own people. How to rebuild trust, how to offer truth, how to fix the broken system. Chapter 6. Stories from the Visa Tour. It began as a trip, but for many, it became something more. They came to shop, to save money, to see the truth. And what they found in China surprised them, moved them, changed them. Let's start with the Morris family. 3 kids, 2 tired parents, from Ohio, middle class, always saving, always struggling. They saw a TikTok video about the shopping visa. "Is this real?" the dad asked. They applied, got approved in 3 days. packed their bags, and flew to China. What they saw amazed them. Clean streets, polite people, no one yelling. They went to a tech market in Shenzhen. The dad's eyes widened. This phone is $250? It looks just like mine. Mine was $1,200. They bought phones, a laptop, a tablet for each kid, and they still spent less than half their U.S. budget. The mom whispered, "We should have done this years ago." Then came Janelle, a 21-year-old college student. She studied fashion and always dreamed of Paris. But her friend said, "Come to Guangzhou instead." She went, and what she saw shocked her. So many clothes, high quality, low price, no logos. She visited a clothing factory. The manager said, "We make jackets for 3 top U.S. brands. One costs $9 to make. They sell it for $140. Janelle gasped. She touched the fabric, talked to the workers, and something clicked inside her. "They've lied to us," she said. "They sold us dreams with price tags." Janelle started posting videos. She called her series "The Truth Behind the Tag." Millions watched. Then there was David, a small business owner from Texas. He sold electronics, always struggled with suppliers. In China, he found a new world. He visited a factory, talked to the boss, made a deal, direct prices, no middlemen. He smiled and said, "I don't need U.S. brands anymore. I'll build my own." He called his store Real Tech. In 1 month, sales doubled. And then there were the seniors, like Barbara and Frank, retired, curious. They flew to China just to see. In Shanghai, they visited a tea shop. The owner served them with care. Barbara said, "He didn't rush us. He wanted us to feel welcome." They bought gifts, took pictures, made new friends. And when the trip ended, Barbara cried, "I thought I knew the world, but now I see. I never really looked." Across China, stories like these grew. Each person returned home with more than just products. They returned with questions and answers and new eyes. One traveler wrote online, "This was not just a visa trip. It was a wake-up call." Some people didn't even want to leave. They asked, "Can we stay longer? Can we move here? Can we do business here?" And China smiled. "Yes," they said. "We're open." The visa program became bigger. More cities joined. More tours were added. Now there were factory tours, cultural classes, even Meet the Maker events. You could sit with a shoemaker, drink tea with a phone engineer, watch a dress get stitched from start to finish. People were amazed. A teacher from New York said, "This is better than any school lesson. This is real learning." And then came the message that shocked everyone. A group of Americans posted this. "We came to shop. We found respect. we found truth, and maybe we found a future. The shopping visa tour was more than just travel. It was connection, discovery, change. People saw with their own eyes, heard with their own ears, touched with their own hands. And many said the same thing. We're not the same anymore. Chapter 7. The Brand Collapse. It started with whispers. Then came the wave, and finally, the fall. Big American brands, once untouchable, were now under attack. But not from enemies, from their own customers. People no longer believed the ads, the models, the magical stories behind logos. They had seen the truth in China, touched it, worn it, used it. And they came back asking, why are we paying more for the same thing? Why does a $20 item cost $200 after a logo is added? There were no good answers. In New York, Los Angeles, Miami, customers stopped buying. Shops became quiet. Sales dropped. Luxury stores offered discounts. Buy one get one deals. Flash sales. But no one was fooled anymore. A teenage girl stood in front of a popular shoe store. She said, I used to dream about these shoes. Now I know they cost $9 to make. I'm not paying $150 for a dream. She turned and walked away, and thousands online cheered her. Online stores felt it too. Returns increased. Ratings dropped. Customers wrote angry reviews, overpriced, cheaper in China. No longer trust this brand. Some videos showed side-by-side tests, brand name versus no logo. And guess what? The no logo products often won. Stronger, lighter, better. One fashion company, once worth billions, went silent. Its CEO resigned. Its stock crashed. Reporters called it the collapse of cool. Inside boardrooms, panic grew. Executives shouted, "We built our name over 30 years. And now it's being destroyed. By one shopping trip? Yes. Because that trip revealed the truth. Back in China, factories were calm, steady, focused. They didn't need logos anymore. They had something better. They had trust. Customers didn't care about big names now. They wanted real stories, real prices, real people. They wanted to support the makers, the workers, the ones who actually built the product. One small brand from China went viral. It had no logo, just a simple message on the tag. Made with honesty. And people loved it. Young influencers said, "Don't follow trends, follow truth." And their followers listened. The shopping world changed forever. Before, it was about status. Now, it was about sense. Before, it was about luxury. Now, it was about value. Even schools started teaching something new. They called it smart shopping. Classes showed students how to read product labels, how to find the real cost, how to compare brands with factory items. One student said, This is the best class I've had. I'll never buy the same again. And it wasn't just the young. Grandparents, teachers, truck drivers, everyone wanted change. They had felt fooled for years, and now they were free. American brands tried to fight back. Some moved production back home. Some added QR codes to show their supply chain. Some even admitted their profit margins. But it was too late. The people had seen behind the curtain, and they would never forget. One journalist wrote, "The brand war is over. The empire of logos has fallen. The people won." And in quiet homes across America, shoppers whispered, "We're not just customers anymore. We're detectives." The shopping visa didn't just sell products. It sold knowledge, and knowledge is power. So now, the world shops differently. Wiser, stronger, louder. And the biggest change of all? It came not from a law, but from a simple question. What am I really paying for? Chapter 8. The Battle of Influence. This was not just about money, not just about shoes or phones, not just about logos or discounts. This was a war of ideas, a quiet battle for hearts and minds, a battle of influence. In the old days, power meant armies, guns, ships, flags, fear. But in 2025, power changed. Now, power meant something else. Trust, image, control over the story. And China knew this. They didn't send soldiers. They sent a message, a new kind of message. We don't need war. We have strategy. That message spread across the world, through phones, through videos, through real-life stories, and it worked. People didn't change because of pressure. They changed because of proof. They saw the truth in malls, in factories, in the faces of workers. And they asked, why did no one show us this before? Let's look at Alex. He was a young YouTuber from Florida. He loved tech and he loved freedom. He traveled to China with the shopping visa, not to support a side, but to explore. What he found changed him. He filmed factories, interviewed workers, compared products. He posted a video called "What They Never Told Us About China." It got 50 million views. In the video, he said, "I'm not saying China is perfect, but I saw things that shocked me, and I saw people who just want to be respected." That video changed everything. It was shared in schools, on news channels, even in Congress, because it wasn't angry, it wasn't political, it was honest. And that's what made China's plan so powerful. It didn't force people, it invited them, gently. "Come see for yourself," they said, "then decide what you believe." This kind of influence was quiet, but deep. While the U.S. argued on TV, China built high-speed trains. While brands screamed about loyalty, China opened more factories. While newspapers warned about danger, travelers filmed kindness. The battle wasn't loud, but it was real. In every comment, every review, every purchase. People were choosing a new future, not just where they shopped, but how they thought. And the U.S. knew it. One advisor in Washington wrote, "This is not a trade war anymore. This is an influence war, and we're losing the young." So they tried to catch up. New ads, new programs, even their own truth tours. But it felt forced, too late, too fake, because people had already chosen something else. Real experience, real stories, real people. In China, a government speaker gave a short speech. It was calm, measured, and very clear. The future is not won with fear. It is earned with friendship. We welcome visitors. We show them who we are. And we trust them to decide. Influence. It can't be bought. It can't be ordered. It must be earned. This was China's greatest weapon, not a missile, not a law, but a mirror. They held it up. And let the world look. Many were shocked. Some were impressed. And millions were changed. The shopping visa war was never really about shopping. It was about trust, about truth, about the power of showing, not telling. And in this quiet battle, China didn't need to win everything. They just needed to plant a seed. Now the world watches, listens, learns, and the final chapter begins. Not in secret rooms, but in people's minds. The question is no longer, who has the most power? Now it's, who do we believe? And China might already know the answer.